Good afternoon. Just before we begin this afternoon, just a note to committee members, because we've managed to get our guests here at the start of committee, we are going to postpone the review of our study. If I can please ask you to prepare any changes, suggestions, edits, and have that ready for the next meeting, that would be great. Before we begin, I want to explain that we're undertaking the third meeting in the subcommittee as held on the deteriorating situation in Venezuela. We recently heard about the Venezuelan government's attempts to circumvent the National Assembly, to undermine judicial independence, and to silence dissent by imprisoning government critics. The prolonged protests over the past month and the extreme violence and intimidation that have met protesters is especially troubling, particularly the 40 Venezuelans that have died during these protests, including minors. The subcommittee has also heard that rampant corruption has led to the bankrupting of a resource-rich country, precipitating an acute economic, social, and humanitarian crisis which has affected the lives of over 30 million Venezuelans. In September 2015, Venezuelan opposition leader Leopoldo López was sentenced to almost 14 years on politically motivated charges and is now being held in military prison in solitary confinement for almost 700 of his 1,100 days detained. In this context, I'd like to welcome here today Lilian Tintori, Venezuelan democracy activist and the wife of imprisoned opposition leader Leopoldo López, Antonieta López, Mr. López's mother, Mr. López's international counsel, Jared Genser, and of course, Erwin Kotler, honored member of this subcommittee in many of the years past and a frequent visitor to our Human Rights Subcommittee. With that, Ms. Tintori, I'd like to welcome you to make your remarks, and then we'll move to questions from the members of this committee.
Chair,
thank you very much.
Chair, just before she begins,
Yes.
because I think there's a possibility that some people in the audience innocently may break the rules, just to remind them that no recording or no photo.
Yes, further to the rules of this committee, there will be no photography or videoing while we're in session, please. Thank you. Please, Ms. Tintori, you have the floor. No, you're right.
Good afternoon, Chairman Levitt, distinguished members of the Subcommittee on International Human Rights, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Erwin Kotler. Thank you, Jared Genser. My name is Lilian Tintori. I am honored to be able to testify today. As I join you here at this very moment, hundreds of thousands of people in my country of Venezuela are protesting peacefully in the streets. Today has been 46 days protesting in the street. They are exercising their constitutional rights to challenge a repressive dictatorship and protest a lack of food and medicine, high rates of violence, and government persecution. Our demands should be simple for any democracy to meet: the unconstitutional release of all political prisoners, the holding of general elections, the opening of the UN-run humanitarian channel, and the respect of the National Assembly. But we do not live in a democracy, and the Maduro regime is so afraid of its own citizens that it seeks to violently repress us. For the past 5 weeks, I have been in the streets with these protesters, experiencing this repression firsthand. As we peacefully assemble, the government sent soldiers, military tanks, and helicopters to suffocate us with tear gas. The other day, when trying to stop our march for justice, the government tear-gassed an elementary school filled with school children, which ended up killing an elderly woman. To further intimidate us, the government cowardly sent its armed gangs called colectivos, civils with arms, groups, to shoot at us. Since the start of the protest on April 1st, over 2,000 people has been arrested. More than 700 people have been wanted, and over 40 people, right now, 50, died. Today in the morning, 1, yesterday in the afternoon, 2 more. There are currently over 180 political prisoners in Venezuela. As many of you may know, one of them is my husband, Leopoldo López, a leader of the opposition who has been wrongfully detained for the past 3 years for calling for a change in our current government through peaceful democratic means and constitutional. He is serving 14 years in prison after a sham trial, which even the lead prosecutor admit was a farce. Leopoldo is a prisoner of conscience. Thought a civilian, Leopoldo is being kept in a military prison where he is routinely denied his legal right to see his family and lawyers. Just recently, he was held incommunicado for over a month. No phone, no newspaper, incommunicado. When a prominent journalist tweeted a rumor that Leopoldo was poisoned and possible death, we could not confirm because the military leaders who run the prison and the hospital refused to allow us entry. I finally got to see Leopoldo last week, and thank God he's all right. But we fear for his emotional and psychical well-being. With 2 young children, I spent many sleepless nights worrying what might happen to their father. Manuela, my daughter, she's 7. Leopoldo Santiago, my son, he's 4 years old. These soldiers know they are violating our human rights, but they do so under direct orders from the government, from the dictatorship. To shut down the protest, the government seeks to intimidate us with violence or arbitrary detention, but we will not be intimidated. We have too much at stake, and our love for freedom is greater than our fear. Since the last time I testified before this subcommittee on November 25, 2014, the situation in Venezuela has worsened dramatically. The Maduro regime has been ruling by emergency decree in order to bypass the opposition-led National Assembly. The Supreme Court rubber stamps any action of the executive branch, and in March attempted to dissolve the National Assembly. We don't have parliament in Venezuela right now. They black-tracked this attempt in the face of protest, but now the government seeks to develop the parallel citizens' assembly, or constituyente, as a way to undermine the people's electoral voice. They want to block election. They want to block people vote. I am concerned that as my country slips into a repressive dictatorship, it is also becoming a narco state. There is complete and total impunity in Venezuela, 99% of impunity, which make it happen for narco traffickers. Top government officials, including the vice president, and linked to the drug trade, and thus have an incentive for us to become a failed state. This systematic violation of human rights compound the dire humanitarian situation of my country. Hyperinflation, expect to the 2,000% in this year, has caused severe shortages of food and medicine. Half of Venezuelan children do not get 3 meals a day, and over 1 million students have dropped out of the school because of hunger. The average Venezuelan has lost 19 pounds in the past year. And as too many people go hungry, hospitals are unable to treat curable disease. Infant and maternal mortality are skyrocketing, as in malaria and Zika. Dr. Mouse regularly turn patients away because there are no medicine to cure them. Our desperation has led to over 115,000 people fleeing in the country. Already, the amount of Venezuela asylum seekers to Canada has doubled over the past year. As our condition worsens, we can expect an even bigger exodus. On the international stage, Canada has been an international beacon for human rights. We are especially grateful for its work with over-regional leaders such as Mexico, Brazil, and the United States to hold the Maduro regime to account in international forums such as the Organization of the American State. But with that said, now we need Canadian leadership to help ease my people's suffering. Maduro has expressed a willingness to allow the United Nations to administer humanitarian aid in the country, and I believe that Canada can be the key player in ensuring that this humanitarian canal research reaches those most vulnerable. First, we need an independence needs assessments in the country, and then we need to develop a plan for delivery that ensures independence and efficacy. The sad truth is that in Venezuela, we no longer have a government that serves the people. Instead, the government only increases our suffering. I fear the consequence of the implosion of the state with 30 million people, and thus I ask for your help and for the Canadian leadership. before you today, I represent the voice of the suffering Venezuelan. Please hear our call. We don't have time for democracy. We don't have time for a statement in 1 month or 2 months and 3 months. We need action. We need help. We are in an emergency. We ask for our debate emergency. We asked for debate Venezuelan case as emergency. Please help us. Strength and faith.
Thank you very much for your impassioned testimony, Ms. Stentori. You've certainly created a vivid picture for this subcommittee, and we're going to go right on to MP Sweet, who's got the first question.
Thank you very much, Chair, and Ms. Stentori. The sympathies of all of our colleagues here, I'm certain, are with you and your family, with the suffering of Leopoldo Lopez, and also with their continued intimidation of him in incarceration. I'm certain Leopoldo would want us to see his life as a microcosm of everything that's happening in Venezuela. The reports that we hear are devastating, not only your testimony, but the reports we hear of physicians that can't treat patients. The numbers that you mentioned of people losing 19 pounds, I mean, that's like not being able to eat for 40 days during a year to lose that much weight. And so that is a crisis that's of tremendous proportions. But I want to ask, and it's possible that maybe Mr. Kotler or Mr. Genzer might know this, is that our embassy on the ground, are we playing an observation role so that we have Canadian officials that can give us some objective observation on what's happening there? Also, I've heard reports that there's now being manipulation in the media so that opposition members are being shown being armed in protest when they're not, so it's being used for propaganda. Is that the case? And then my third question is, I've heard also that military courts are being used to actually try civilians. Is that the case in Venezuela? If you could answer those questions, please.
Okay. Okay. Yes, right now in Venezuela we don't have rule of law. We don't have autonomy powers. That's why Leopoldo Lopez in 2014, my husband, asked for protest, pacific protest in the street to change that, to prevent the humanitarian crisis that we have right now. Right now in Venezuela we don't have rule of law, but they repressed us with guns and with detain. In the last 4 weeks, we have more than 2,000 detention, and they go to military huge because the Fiscalía, Luis Ortega, the persecutor of Venezuela, say no. This is a coup state. I can do more of this. So things happening in Venezuela. One of the powers say, no, this is a dictatorship, and that's why people right now, the army, go to the tribunal, military huge. That's unconstitutional. That is violatorio, our human rights violation, because civil go to civil huge, and military go to civil to military huge. But we have a military dictatorship and a repressive dictatorship, and that's why they are using military to detain people and have more people in jail. To trying to block the protest. They try to put fear in the street, but Venezuelan people is gonna be in street as we rescue our democracy. We can't stop.
After the Attorney General then protested publicly, the civilian prosecutors followed suit, and you're saying that they're now moving this to the military courts because civilian prosecutors refuse to deal with this, and so the people of Venezuela are hearing their voices as well. Then is that correct? That's correct. Okay.
Just on your point on the Canadian embassy on the ground, just before coming into this meeting here today, we met with the two parliamentary secretaries to the Foreign Affairs Minister, to Matt Kursi and Omar Al Gabra, and they are saying that they're keeping a watching brief with respect to what is happening on the ground, getting regular reports. The Minister of Foreign Affairs is equally engaged on the issue, and we met earlier with the Prime Minister on this matter, and he was very, very responsive in terms of appreciating what is happening now in Venezuela and in terms of what has to be done.
Yes. In Venezuela, we have 5 powers. One of the powers is the la fiscal general, the general attorney, the general attorney general. This one say no, this is a dictatorship. The other one is the moral power, is la Defensoría del Pueblo, is Tarek William Saab, and we are waiting for his voice, but his son of 26 years, tweet out a video saying, "Father, stop. This is a dictatorship. Do your work. You are the human rights person in the government. What you are doing, they are killing young people in the street, and tomorrow could be me, the son of the moral power." So things happen in Venezuela right now. It's a good time to push, to change, and to really block the dictatorship and trying to rescue the democracy.
You asked for Canada's help as far as humanitarian aid and leading a mission there for international partners for humanitarian aid. What else could Canada do?
Al First Minister.
No, yes, I think that a trip to...
¿Qué fue lo que le pedimos al
No, el viaje a los parlamentarios.
sí.
I think that a future trip to Venezuela of a group of parliamentaries will be very, very helpful to see the situation on ground. And it should be as soon as possible, because we are in an emergency right now. And we also, and I think it's good to share, that we asked the Prime Minister Trudeau to work hard in the 4 issues that Lillian just said, about calling for general elections, the release of political prisoners, respect for the National Assembly, and a humanitarian channel. He was very, very compelling on this, and I think that Canadian voices from different groups and audiences are very important nowadays, and especially what's happening at the OAS level today, because there's going to be a meeting next May 31st with all the foreign affairs ministers to analyze Venezuela as a case, before that's previous to the General Assembly. Yesterday was an important day because there's a group that abstained. They used to vote against the democratic nations. Now they're abstaining. What we need, it's a last push that they vote with the democratic countries of the region.
Thank you very much. We're now going to move to MP Fragastakos.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being here today. The testimony is incredibly compelling, to put it lightly. The Chavez regime and indeed the Maduro regime have leaned on the idea that it alone could advance the interests of the Venezuelan poor, that it alone had the ability to do that, and its legitimacy, or perceived legitimacy, was based on that notion, which, as it's turned out, is quite false indeed. You mentioned in your presentation food shortages and medical shortages. I wonder if you could speak about shortages, but particularly by focusing on how they have impacted Venezuela's poor, and then also touch on what the opposition is offering to the poor of Venezuela in terms of an alternative to the current regime. And when I say an alternative, I mean an economic alternative. An economic alternative that gives them hope for the future, concrete ideas in terms of how their prospects can be improved.
You know that it's a very, very good question, because we have been in this fight 18 years, but for our family, for me, in the last 3 years, I'm fighting for release my husband. But I try to help people, poor people in Venezuela. So we start a campaign called Rescue Venezuela, and we go around the world in 11 cities, and we get food and medicine for our country. And we start sending this food and medicine for our country, and they block the food and the medicine in the airport. The military, the army, controls the airport too. They control everything. So many things go inside my home, and I start to go to the hospitals and to different foundations to give people medicine and food. And you know what? Maduro asked people with arms, go to the hospitals and take our box. All the last year, I've been traveling around our country, helping people, and then Maduro go and said, kidnap and go and take the box of medicine and of food. So it's difficult. In the last donate, I give it 40 bucks, big box of not medicine, supplies.
Medicine supply.
For a hospital, very important hospital in the capital, the biggest one, to the Dr. Miller. And I give to Dr. Miller and I say, Doctor, this is from Mexico, from California, for Colombia, and I give it. 2 hours later, armed civil paramilitares, colectivos, go inside the hospital, and they go to jail with Dr. Miller. Dr. Miller in jail for only receive our donation. So we try, but we are in a dictatorship. So the politician can do politics. We don't have debate, we don't have parliament, we don't have nobody. So it's very, 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 very difficult for us. But we have the view. Leopoldo in jail write a lot of things to rescue the economic. Leopoldo love oil and work in Petróleos de Venezuela. And this year gonna publish a book of oil and how we're gonna rescue our economy. And we're gonna do. But the thing today is that we are in a dictatorship, and we want to vote to have a new president, and new governments, and new mayors.
If I understand you correctly, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to make sure this is on the record. If I understand you correctly, the shortages that we hear of are not only impacting the middle class and the more affluent classes. They are impacting all Venezuelans and having, I think, perhaps it's fair to assume, a disproportionately negative impact on the poor because they're already in a difficult position to begin with. Okay, good.
Yes.
No, that was my impression, and everything I've read leaned in that direction, but I wanted to make sure that was on the record.
73% lost weight, 73% don't have the 3 meals every day. Like the crisis go to everybody. Look, right now in Venezuela, Diego Arellano, 31 years, died. Another shot in protest today. One more, 51.
That countdown.
Yeah, just on your
San Antonio de los Altos, disparo en el pecho. All the kidnapping, the last 15 died, 51 with Diego Arellano, guns in de la cintura para arriba, o sea, or head or chest.
Just on the specifics of your question, it's important to appreciate that 80% of Venezuelans live in poverty at this point. 1 million students have had to drop out of school because of hunger. Skyrocketing rates of infant and maternal mortality. I can go on, but you can see a real humanitarian crisis, a poverty crisis, a country that is imploding because of the repressive dictatorship.
Time left, Chair. Could you speak about paramilitaries? We hear and read about this now. How is the regime utilizing paramilitary organizations in its effort to maintain power?
Yes, there are groups with guns and long guns and short guns with motorcycles, and they maybe before we have more, now are minimum, no? But they're still there. And Chavez give guns for this group of people and start doing politician of aggressive. We have a terrorist state. They permitieron la violencia.
They encourage.
they allow the violence. It's the terrorism state. They put guns in a lot of people, and in Venezuela, every 19 minutes die a Venezuelan people for violence, for kidnapping, or for a shot, or for taking a bag of food, or taking a pair of shoes. So we have been in a very deep crisis of insecurity, and that's why now Maduro is alone around the world, and alone in his dictatorship, and not only put army in the streets to shut us, collective paramilitares go around the protests and shots. And we have the videos, and we have the pictures, and we have everything that have to testify that is true.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're now going to move to MP Hardcastle, please.
Did you want to say something?
We don't hear. I can. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for coming, all of you. And this is a very important issue for our committee to discuss, because the words that Lillian, if I may call you Lillian, used, rescue democracy. The idea of rescuing democracy, that's part of this committee's role. How do we see Canada? Where does Canada fit in with this? And part of it for us is, I believe, that we have to understand the past, so that when we're rescuing a democracy, we don't want to bring it back to how it was in the past. In my respectful observation, you're trying to evolve, you're trying to build a democracy and build something better than what's ever been in your history. In all due respect, I cannot look on any point in the history of that beautiful country and say, I want to fight to get this back. I want to see improvement. And so what I'd like to hear from you is more some of the intellectual argument we can use within the OAS even about enhancing and building your democracy. And one of the things I want to ask you about is this idea, and going along with my colleague's question about paramilitary. And the military role is something that is very hard in countries like ours to understand, because there isn't a military role in government or in our court system. So how could we advocate or advance? What do you think needs to happen, or what do you see needs to happen? Because I'm assuming those were arguments that were brought to the Maduro government and that they protested against. How these protests and how these disagreements escalated into this volatility that there is now, we have to be able to figure out, how do we help you? You're in this crisis and you come out of it stronger and better. That's what we have to help you with. So help us understand this, what the role of the military courts is now. And there was a proposal that I have read about a constitutional military assembly that would include representation from the armed forces and workers. And how do you see that issue right now as something that we can help advocate in the OAS? Or maybe you see there's a more direct way that we can do that. Because, you know, as a committee, we make recommendations, right? So we have to be able to be helpful and constructive. And maybe Mr. Kotler will have some observations for us as well on how we can help move forward and gain a broader understanding of what this military role is right now that needs to be obviously modified or maybe even expunged.
I think that one of the first questions is that since Chavez started ruling the country, he gave the military different roles. We have the Army, we have the National Guard, we have the Air Forces, and we have the Armada. And he started giving the military management responsibilities in the government. So nowadays, when you go and see who holds the positions in the government, I think that 80% comes from the armed forces. So that starts being, it puts back the responsibility of the Army and of the armed forces, because they're there to keep the integrity of the country, to keep peace, to follow the rules. Now they are they're compromising with the government, and there's a lot, and it has been proved that there is a lot of what Lilian just said. It's a lot of drug trafficking in Venezuela, and Venezuela has been now the path between Colombia and all over the world, and the military are completely involved in all of that. And it came because of a distortion of what Chavez decided 18 years ago. And you can see it's almost a whole generation. And the way the generals are promoted, never we had so many generals. And I think we have more generals than any democratic country in the hemisphere. I think that's one of the big problems we have with the militaries. And what you were addressing about the constituyente militar. Oh, explícalo tú.
Your question is very important. I asked the same question to Leopoldo in Yale. Leopoldo, why our country is like that? Why a mess like this? What happened? And Leopoldo answered to me, Lilian, it's 18 years with Chavez, and they put in the ministros. We met a lot of ministers today here. Yeah. Very important people, specialists in his teams. They put in all the militaries in the ministers. So they put military friends of Chavez in all the positions. That's why they destroyed our country. That's why we don't have food, we don't have medicine, we have narco state, because they are carteles militares in Venezuela. So I asked the same question to Leopoldo to try to understand my country. It's a mess, it's difficult. About the constituyente, we have the Constitution, the Venezuelan Constitution, is rich of human rights. It's a very good constitution. They did in the year 99. And we want our constitution. We want that constitution. We don't need another one. And the new constitution wants Maduro right now is illegal. The National Constituent Assembly was not consulted with Venezuelans. The first sentences of the Article 347 explain this very clearly. The people of Venezuela are the depository of the original constituent power. This means that only Venezuelan voters authorize the electoral process where the National Constituent Assembly could be convened. The proposal of the National Constituent Assembly illegally changed the rules to ensure majority. I'm going to explain to you. The original power, the people, the original, is not the people. It's a group of Maduro. So it's a fraud. Everybody reject this new fraud of Maduro. It's a new coup d'etat. It's a new coup d'etat, and all the continent, the leaders of the continent say that is worse. Incluso group of Maduro, Escarrá, yesterday, people very near Maduro say, hey, no, this is not constitutional. You are crazy. No. We want our constitution, and we need to respect the constitution.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We are now going to move to MP Tabara.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for all the witnesses for being here. This is a situation that is ongoing, and this committee has unanimously decided to study it further and give it more attention. My question is for you both is that Venezuelan officials have contended that elections are simply not a priority right now. They said that they have more pressing issues to
be dealing with. And I think that you would probably agree that good governance and a change in government is probably is what the people are protesting for. They want a revamp of their country. They want their country back, and they don't want to see high prices in food, inflation, etc. What's your opinion on the government saying that elections are not a priority for them right now?
Why not? Why not? Because they're going to lose all one. They're going to lose. They don't have people.
So my question is they keep putting that forward in the media, saying that they're trying to do everything that they can to try to avoid an election. They haven't set a date right now. There was talks about a 2018 election, but they're doing things in their power to kind of avoid that. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, if I may be able to use your question and also answer Ms. Hardcastle's question at the same time, because we have to appreciate we are meeting at a time of a repressive dictatorship in Venezuela and a state of emergency, a fundamental assault on democracy, human rights, and rule of law. Therefore, what are the things that Canada can do that this parliamentary committee can recommend? Number one, free and fair elections. 83% of Venezuelans want that and want a change in government. Two, the restoration of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law, specifically respect for the Constitution, for the freely elected Parliament, for the independence of the judiciary. Three, the release of political prisoners, including in particular Leopoldo Lopez as the leader of the democratic opposition. And fourth, the provision of humanitarian assistance to put an end to the humanitarian crisis. This is what has been put forward by Lilian Tantori, representations made today with an all-party meeting, parliamentarians and the Prime Minister. These are the four specific requests, and that will allow for a restoration of democracy, human rights, the rule of law, and constitutionalism in Venezuela.
If I can just mention in response to your question about 2018 and the timing, the reason why the OAS and the international community is calling for early elections is because the constitutionally permitted recall referendum, there's a process to recall the president, gathering a certain number of votes, was blocked by Maduro. He refused to allow that to proceed. And as a result, he unconstitutionally stopped a process that is created by the Constitution when a certain number of signatures are gathered, and he refused to honor that signature gathering effort. And so this is why the international community is not focused on the date of the expiration of his term now, but is calling for early elections in 2017. It's because he has already unconstitutionally blocked the recall referendum, which would have been the right or the first best alternative to have him be gone.
To Ms. D. Lopez, you mentioned about the military and security forces. My question is do you see any fragment or fragmentation within the security forces that are divided at this point, or have they been kind of been under Maduro's watch, just been united as one entity?
I'm going to answer you just through my son Leopoldo's conversation last Sunday. He was telling me he has been in a military prison for the last 3.5 years. And he has, well, he's in prison and he has had the chance to talk to soldiers, majors, officials. They're the ones that have him in prison. And his own perception and experience is that more than 50–60% of those militaries in the prison want Maduro out because they're against the dictatorship. I can tell you that small example. What's happening in the whole military armed forces? We don't have information. So that's the reason that I'm giving you a valuable information of what my son is perceiving in his prison. All the top level, it's completely committed to Maduro because they share corruption, they share drug trafficking, they violate all the human rights with Maduro consent. So they're kind of a very, very small group managing the country. It seems that in the lower ranks, there's starting to be a lot of divisions, and people who really are Venezuelans. They really love their country. They don't agree with all the killings. They don't agree to all the repression, the brutal repression against the Pacific Venezuelans, and they want to solve the food shortage, the health problems, the homicides, the violence. As Lillian said, every 19 minutes there's a Venezuelan that dies because the civilians have been armed by the government. They have been armed by Chavez since the beginning.
And they control everything. They control media, they control the TV, the radio, they control the airport, they control the court, they control everything. They control the jail. Ramo Verde, the jail, the military jail, is in a mountain. It's in the top of the mountain. But all the mountain is a military zone. So we get in la parte de abajo de la montaña,
in the lower
part of the mountain, and we start saying good morning to the army. The army are with guns, and they block us a lot of moments to get in. And we start saying hello, hello, hello for all our up to the hill. All the military said, continue fighting, say hello to Leopoldo, continue fighting, force, face, continue fighting. All the militaries, and we get inside the jail, and they have 4 militaries that take of Leopoldo, is los custodios, the customs, los custodios de Leopoldo. They are direct with Maduro and with Diosdado, and they push us, they recording all our visit, conjugal visit, intimate visit with my kids, with my mother-in-law. They're recording every visit, and they take out our clothes every time we get in the jail and we get out the jail. Strip search. Oh. Inside the jail. But all the mountain, all the zone, all the military zone said, continue fighting.
So we've got time for one very last short question from MP Block.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the opportunity. This is the second time that I've been a visitor on this committee, and I'm very appreciative of the testimony that I'm hearing today. And I've heard that you no longer have a government that serves your country, that you are calling for action, and that there is no longer time for diplomacy. My one quick question is, which OAS states in particular must be pressured to take a stand on Maduro and the violence?
We need support of countries that right now are se abstuvieron el día de ayer. In the last vote, talking about Venezuela, the General Secretary of OAS, Luis Almagro, have all the information on Venezuela and did inform a very good document of all our reality. And the last vote comes like this: yes, vote yes, all these countries, and vote no, all these countries, and 2 abstention. Yesterday in the OAS, all these countries comes here. Abstain. Only one, Nicaragua, say no for talking about Venezuela. So we have an opportunity to all these countries that before there are like ciegos por la situación, there are no, say no, they are now all here. So Canada can help a lot of talking with this country to come here and said, yes, let's talk about Venezuela, and let's put pressure to have election, have a tunnel for food and medicine, have respect of our National Assembly, and release all the political prisoners.
Thank you very much. We got one short point of clarification from MP Sweet.
Clarification, Chair, because Ms. Tentori, in the last portion of her answer, was mentioning something that I think is important for the committee to know. You were mentioning about being continually strip searched when you went to this So they're using this as an intimidation to stop you from having the courage to see your husband.
Thank you. Yes, that's correct. It has been going like that for the last 2 years and a half. And the worst day was on, I think it was January 2016, when I was stripped in front of my granddaughter, Manuela. She just couldn't believe what she was participating. That was, and once we denounced, because it's, you know, for me especially, it's very, very hard to be denouncing all of these aggressions because they're very intimidating. They're very hard to manage. But Mr. Kotler, Jared, everyone that has worked with us in human rights said we have to inform everything that's happening to us. And when I was out of the little room where I was stripped, we made that publicly through international media. And then the Attorney General, because of that, and it was very interesting. How do you say medidas cautelares en inglés?
Cautelar.
Las medidas to protect us.
Medidas cautelares. Cautelar measures.
Yeah, both of us had some special measures that the director of the prison, that was always the most aggressive one, he couldn't get near us. So just to, you understand how aggressive they are with Leopoldo's family. And as you will say, is because we go every single day, if they have to strip us 10 times, we'll be there to be stripped 10 times. And we'll always be there. But the thing is to intimidate us and to maybe, you know, start getting back and not going with the frequency as we always do.
We did it and we denounced that. And that director of that jail, when they finished his terms inside the jail and tortured Leopoldo and tortured our family, they put the responsibility to the airport, all the port in Caracas, in Venezuela.
He was promoted.
So ellos premian al torturador. They promote the army that torture Leopoldo, political prisoners, our family. So it's like.
The same, by the way, goes for the judge in the case. The judge in the case was also promoted after convicting Leopoldo in a ridiculous one-sided trial. She is now the federal public defender of the entire country, having allowed 600 hours of testimony against Leopoldo and only 3 hours for the defense, and giving him 13 and a half years in prison. She was promoted and is now the public defender for the entire country.
Well, I want to thank all of you for being here today, especially Mr. Lopez and Ms. Tentori. Your testimony, we've been seized with this issue. This subcommittee, all members of this subcommittee have been seized with the issue of the deteriorating human rights abuses happening in Venezuela and the repression of democracy, the plight of political prisoners, especially Leopoldo Lopez, your husband. And I also want to acknowledge the presence here today of so many from the local Venezuelan community that have continually advocated both for your husband, for political prisoners, and for human rights in Venezuela. We really do. We are going to continue on this path and know that we are going to have our voices behind you as well. Thank you very much, and I now adjourn this meeting.